We open with Maggie discovering Carmen Navarro's body in the woods. She rereads McNab's warnings: don't cross the line and don't trust anyone. Then she flees the scene. Meanwhile, Arlo, aka the Harbinger, gathers the rainbow colored liquid poison in a jar. He explains to Nicholas that they can cross the line if they consume said poison. However, it's dependent on how much they drink. If they drink too little and cross the line, they die. If they drink too much, they die. Lastly, if they don't drink any of it and stay put, they still die. Staying put means the assassin will kill them all. Meryl urges them to keep moving. Elsewhere, the stranger explains to Valeria and Ellen that it's all connected. The lack of electricity, the aggressive animals and organisms turning into bloody, bony mush when they cross the line. The stranger asks them questions about who's in their party and claims he's there to help. Maggie returns from her trip into the woods. The stranger, whose name is Lieutenant Olson, also asks if anyone has come into contact with Carmen Navarro. Initially, Olson was tasked with locating and isolating her. After all, the chaos started with Carmen. Valeria and Ellen mention Arlo and how strange he's acting. Olson wonders where Arlo is. Sensing Olson is a threat, Maggie lies, claiming her son is in the barn. Meanwhile, Nicholas tries the trick Ellen gave him and uses it to confess his love for Meryl. He's been smitten with her since the second grade. Meryl, whose back is turned, smiles but doesn't respond. Later, Meryl asks Nicholas why he sprinkled in a love confession. Nicholas explains that they might all die, so why not tell the girl you love how you feel? Meryl stops the Harbinger and demands to speak with her brother. When Arlo surfaces, Meryl asks for confirmation. Is the Harbinger an alien? Arlo verifies this. As for the blue line, the assassin created it to draw the Harbinger in, right? Arlo nods. He adds that the Harbinger is on a secret mission. Our trio hears a car pull up. Next, Maggie and Olson head into the barn. Olson reveals he works alone until a situation becomes untenable. He adds that the blue line is just a line and that the one who drew it, McNab, thinks he's trying to help. However, he doesn't have all the information. Olson mentions that McNab is unstable. On the other side of the line is a concentrated, powerful vibration. When complex organisms come into contact with it, they get torn apart. Maggie asks about Carmen and if the deceased was involved in an altercation. Olson claims he arrived after Carmen went missing. They pivot to Arlo. While Arlo might have a concussion, as Maggie stated earlier, Olson reveals there have been instances of whatever this is moving from person to person. They ascend the stairs to the top of the barn. Olson realizes that Arlo isn't here. She trains her weapon on him, declaring that he's not who he says he is. When Olson lunges at her, Maggie knocks him unconscious. He wakes up with his wrists zip-tied and his arms duct-taped together. His face is bloody. Valeria arrives, and Maggie explains why she subdued Olson. She noticed markings on Carmen's wrists when she found the ladder, meaning she was tied up. Maggie also discovered zip ties on Olson's belt. Maggie urges Valeria to watch Olson. Before they part ways, Valeria acknowledges the affair. She realizes that Maggie knows about it. Valeria asks Maggie why she doesn't hate her. Maggie doesn't feel hate, she feels pity. She pities Valeria because the latter's not as good of a person as she thought she was. Valeria replies that James was right, Maggie can be very cold. Ugh, don't try to reason away your indiscretion by pinning it on Maggie's demeanor. Then, Maggie asks Valeria to ensure the kids don't see this. Valeria cries while pointing her gun at Olson. Olson starts singing Heart of the Country by Linda and Paul McCartney to himself. He wonders why he can't get the song out of his head. Valeria calls it an earworm. Ellen arrives, revealing that Maggie is on her way to the clinic. Ellen couldn't find the kids in the house. Valeria wonders if they're hiding in the woods. She leaves to search for them, while Ellen stays put, gun in hand. Later, Maggie has a panic attack in the clinic. Donald wakes up from his nap to comfort her. Meanwhile, in the woods, the kids encounter McNab, who holds up his "Don't Cross the Line" sign. Nicholas reaches for the knife in his back pocket. Then, McNab orders them to roll the jar over to him. They refuse to give it up. McNab crosses the line, and inexplicably, nothing happens to him. He lunges for the jar in Nicholas's hands. It shatters during their scuffle. Nicholas also stabs McNab in the gut. He falls to the ground. Meryl decides to help him. She presses down firmly on his wound to stanch the bleeding. After this, she removes McNab's gas mask. He looks like a normal middle-aged man. He can also talk. McNab recognizes Arlo, or rather the harbinger inside him. "You were that woman," he says. McNab reveals that he almost got the harbinger into the car, but then lost the ladder. McNab reassures our trio that he was merely trying to protect them. Next, Olsen asks Ellen if she can wipe the blood from his eyes. It's starting to sting. Ellen gestures with her gun, ordering him not to try anything. As she leans closer, however, Olsen opens his mouth as Carmen did. A kaleidoscope of colors flashes across his eyes as the entity leaps out of his body and into Ellen. Ellen shoots Olsen in the head before departing, singing Heart of the Country to herself. Elsewhere, on the Navarro property, Ruben discovers a rainbow-colored, glowing tree inside a silo. It looks alive and alien. That doesn't bode well. Downstairs in the basement, James wakes up. He meets Travis, who removes his gas mask to smoke a cigarette. So gas masks serve as protection. The entity can't access a human host without a mouth. Travis admits he doesn't know if James will help him or finish the job. He needs James to give him one good reason why he shouldn't finish his cigarette and then shoot the latter in the head. He seems fun.